Hello all, and welcome back to another video. In this video, you join me from London Victoria, as on this day, the 3rd of April 2022, the Gatwick Express has once again returned to revenue service after a nearly 2-year absence owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as ongoing works at Gatwick Airport. However, you will soon see that this is not the best way to travel to Gatwick Airport, and that its absence probably had more benefits than drawbacks. Well, without further ado, it's time to head into the station and get this show on the rails. London Victoria is quite a unique and popular station, as not only does it serve the Brighton Main Line for services to Gatwick and Brighton, but it also serves the Chatham Main Line for services to Maidstone and Ashford. The Brighton Main Line portion of the station was opened in 1860, whilst the Chatham Main Line followed several years later, in 1862. As we admire the impressive architecture of the station, it's worth noting that London Victoria is not actually named after the late monarch. It's named by the nearby Victoria Street, which is just a few minutes walk from the main station. As can be seen, we have quite a while before our service departs, as it should be departing in around 20 minutes. So, we have a bit more time to look around the station, as well as talk about our service today. So, first of all, we go to the southeastern platforms. These are located to the very west of the station, serving platforms 1 to 8, whereas we're mainly concerned with the east side platforms today, for Southern and Gatwick Express services. Heading towards our platform, we can see some facilities and shops that are rather befitting for a station that serves an airport express. For example, straight ahead we can see a currency exchange bureau, whereas to the right we can see a car hiring shop, perfect for hiring a car to get to your next destination. The Gatwick Express runs non-stop between Victoria and Gatwick Airport, with a journey time of around 30 minutes and a frequency of 2 trains per hour off-peak. In recent years, journeys have been extended to Brighton. The Gatwick Express is part of the Govia Thameslink Railway brand, which also includes Southern, Great Northern and Thameslink, the latter of which we will be comparing to the Gatwick Express. As we approach our dedicated Gatwick Express platforms, we can see that there are dedicated ticket booths for the Gatwick Express service only, which is pretty handy when you need to buy last-minute tickets. However, this does make it more expensive. Platforms 13 and 14 are for the dedicated Gatwick Express, whereas the remaining platforms on the east side are for Southern services to destinations in South London, as well as the remainder of the south of England. This also includes services to Gatwick. Due to the delayed completion of engineering works, our inbound service to Gatwick Airport has only just arrived now, at the exact time of departure. Our train today is formed of a Class 387 Electrostar set, with the typical formation being 3 4-carriage trains coupled together to create a 12-carriage set. These trains replaced the previous Class 442 Wessex Electrics between 2016 and 2017. Built by Bombardier at their Derby plant between 2013 and 2017, the Class 387s are the last members of the Electrostar family to have ever been built, which had been in construction for over 20 years. The Gatwick Express order was placed by Govia Thameslink Railway using 140 optional carriages, part of the Thameslink Class 387-1 order, designated as Class 387-2, with the Gatwick Express operating 27 4-carriage units. Right, now that our service is here, it's time to board and get to our seat. Initial impressions. Well, these certainly are the same as the standard Class 387, which is a bit of a disappointment. Although, I'm sure, hopefully, that it can be a bit better when we take a proper look around later. For now, let's hit the Iron Road.
Express en dirección del aeropuerto de Gatwick. Señoras y señores, bienvenidos a bordo del Gatwick Express, destino aeropuerto de Gatwick. Signore e signori, benvenuti a bordo del Gatwick Express, diretto all'aeroporto di Gatwick.
Please keep all personal belongings with you at all times.
Gatwick Express service to Gatwick Airport, calling it Gatwick.
You may have noticed just now that the on-train supervisor referred to this as a southern service. This is because, owing to its suspension during the pandemic, the Gatwick Express stop and staff have been used on southern fast services to Brighton. Some 387s were also hired out to Great Northern and GWR. Clapham Junction is a common calling point for most, if not all, southern services on the Brighton main line, and is the busiest station in Britain, so it is rather weird to be speeding through here as opposed to stopping on this route. Well, I think it's time for a Know Your Seat. The Faenza ironing board seats are commonly used by all members of the 387 fleet. However, at least the Heathrow Express ones were comfortable. You would not expect them to be this hard on such a premium service. Foldable armrests can be found at the ends and the middle of each seat, which is to be expected from what is marketed as an intercity train, even though the stock makes it feel like a commuter service. As for the legroom, I was surprisingly pleased with it, as it is rather spacious, especially on an airline style seat, which is pretty good in my opinion. There are also foldable trays at the back of each airline seat, which have cup holders for placing your cups. However, the bumpiness of this ride would not make it very effective. The standard UK 3-pin plug socket can be found at the end of each seat. However, I would have liked to see USB sockets as well, especially for international travellers. Operational lights can be found above each seat, which do take quite a bit of effort to operate, as you do have to stand up and extend yourself to do so. Overhead luggage racks are also present for the storage of small items of luggage as well as bags. However, I was quite disappointed to see that throughout the rest of the train, there was only a small amount of luggage racks compared to the Heathrow Express. They also aren't as spacious, making me question as to whether these trains are actually even suited for the Gatwick Express. As we pass through Selhurst Station in South London, we can now see the full view of Selhurst Depot, which is where Southern maintains its large fleet of Electrostars, as well as the Class 455s and its smaller fleet of Turbostar trains for use on its unelectrified routes. The Class 387s operated by Gatwick Express can also find themselves being maintained here on occasion. However, principal maintenance is done at Lovers Walk in Brighton, as well as Stewart's Lane in Battersea, so not too far away from London Victoria Station. Another big shock to the system was speeding through East Croydon Station, which is a major hub on the Brighton main line, and practically every Southern and Thameslink service stops at this station. So this was a bit weird, especially seeing as I haven't done this since pre-COVID. Right, it's time for a little wander down the train to get a look around. Again, one of the many inadequate luggage spaces on this train. The PRM area seems to be fairly spacious, which is useful, and it's great to see that wheelchair users are being taken into account here. The standard consist is 2+2 seating, with tables throughout, as is expected from intercity stock. However, this layout is rather common with all Class 387 Electrostars, as they can operate up to speeds of 110 miles an hour, making them useful for both regional and commuter services. However, here I honestly feel like it's more of a commuter train. Here's the standard toilet, which we'll be checking out later. But first, it's time to go into first class. Okay, I'm sorry, but how can you call this first class? It's literally a standard class seat with a headrest that says first class. I'm really sorry, but that is a joke, especially for the amount of money that you have to pay to get into first class. You don't even get your tickets checked as well, which makes it even worse. At the end of the train, we can see that there are interconnecting end gangways, making it useful for when the train is rather full and you need to find a seat. However, as you can see, it was rather empty today. Right, it's time to check out the standard toilet. Door locked, and we can begin. Initial impressions, it is relatively clean, as to be expected, as I do find that Gatwick Express are really good with that. The soap is fully stocked, and the tap seems to be working rather well. However, I do dislike the system, as it is on a one-by-one basis. You have to start with the soap and then work your way to the dryer. The dryer is working perfectly fine, therefore, thumbs up from me. There's also a coat hanger here for storing small bags as well as jackets. Right, let's head back to my seat. One final point to note is that whilst these trains are 110 mph capable, these are only used on the AC overheads, as the Brighton main line is the third rail 750 volt DC system, as commonly found in the south of England. As such, the Brighton main line maximum speed is 90 mph, which we are more than capable of doing here, as you can see. Right, conclusions. Overall, I have to admit I was rather disappointed with the Gatwick Express, as for what is supposed to be an intercity service and a premium airport shuttle, the luggage space is inadequate, the seats are rather uncomfortable, and the overall ride quality was just appalling. So, it really does disappoint me that GTR have turned what is meant to be a premium intercity service into just a bog standard commuter one. Well, anyways, welcome to Gatwick Airport, and let's board our returning Thameslink service.
This train will only remain on the platform for a short period of time. You cannot use
Service call is Red Redtown East Train at Norwood Junction and London Bridge and Wooded Pub Platform 2.
At Gatwick Airport's Platform 3, we can see that our inbound service to central London in the form of a Thameslink Class 700 Desiro City is approaching. Built by Siemens of Germany between 2014 and 2018, the class forms a major part of the Thameslink programme, designed to increase capacity on the Thameslink route between North and South London. Well, now that our service is here, it's now time for us to board. One thing you may notice is that I'm actually going to be sitting in the rear first class cabin, which is declassified for public use. On metro services, the full first class section is declassified. Well, time to take my seat and hit the Iron Road. Unlike the Class 387s used on the Gatwick Express, the Class 700s are 100 mph capable. However, this doesn't stop them from achieving the 90-mile-an-hour speed limit imposed on the Brighton main line. Contrary to the Gatwick Express, our first stop is East Croydon, a populous urban area in South London. However, it won't take much longer for us to get to central London, as you'll soon see, but for now, it's time for a Know Your Seat. The seats used here are the Fainza Sophia seats, which, contrary to the Gatwick Express and the standard class on Thameslink, are a lot more comfortable, and it did make for a nice change after enduring that ride. Armrests can be found at the ends of each seat, as well as in the middle, which makes for a much nicer journey, especially when undertaking a journey that's over 40 minutes between Gatwick Airport and central London. As for the plug sockets, surprisingly, these can only be found in first class as opposed to standard class, which is a bit disappointing in my opinion, especially for such a modern train. These can be found between the seats on the 2+2 seating, and on the 1+1 seating, this can be found just below your seat next to the armrest. In common with the Gatwick Express, overhead luggage racks can be found above each seat throughout this 12-carriage train. Let's not also forget the fact that there are plenty of normal luggage racks throughout the train. I found there to be more so compared to the Gatwick Express. Not to mention throughout there are also a lot more spacious ones, which is useful considering this train serves both Luton and Gatwick airports. Another huge plus point with these trains over the Gatwick Express is that the passenger information systems are just jam-packed full of information. For example, we can see a train loading indicator showing just how busy the train is and where you're most likely to get a seat. Furthermore, there are also toilet indicators showing where there's a toilet on the train and whether it's occupied or not. It also does the job of a bog-standard passenger information system where it shows the next station as well as where the train terminates, in this case, Bedford. Right, time for a little look around our train. We're in the first standard class carriage right now, which is 2+2 metro style seating, as to be expected from the Thameslink network, which is basically a rapid transit system between North and South London. Perhaps one of my favourite features of this train is the walk-through gangways, which mean that you don't have to press any buttons or walk through any doors, which is quite useful in my opinion. Skipping ahead to the 6th carriage, we come across the PRM area, as specified by PRM regulations. We also have a PRM toilet, and a very, very spacious luggage rack. We'll be checking this out right now, so let's go inside and see. This will be quick, as you can see when we enter that the toilet is in an absolutely shocking state. From toilet paper on the floor, to graffiti on the walls, this toilet has it all in terms of poor quality and cleanliness. That being said, however, the toilets do function rather well and perform their job as intended. However, I would honestly advise GTR to look into the cleanliness of their toilets, as this isn't the first instance that a Thameslink train has been in this shocking condition from the toilet perspective, and with the pandemic once again increasing in threat in the UK, this does not fill me as a passenger with much confidence. Well, it's time to exit this awful toilet and head back to my seat. One thing regular users of this route may have noticed is that we have actually avoided London Bridge. This is because there were ongoing engineering works at the time of recording, meaning that we bypassed London Bridge. However, services in the Thameslink core usually begin from London Bridge and end at London St Pancras, where we'll be travelling to today. London Blackfriars is the first station in the central London core which we'll be travelling on today, and from here train doors do open automatically, as you can soon see from the passenger information systems as well as from the doors, which is especially useful when travelling from the airport with heavy items of luggage. And voila! Just like that, the doors are open automatically. Delving deeper into the Thameslink core, we find ourselves arriving at City Thameslink a few minutes later. However, passengers are not able to alight here on Sundays as the station is closed, so we are merely stopping for us to change voltage from the third rail DC system used in the south to the 25 kV overhead wire system in the north. And a few minutes later, we are at Farringdon, the last stop before St Pancras International, which is a major interchange for the Circle, Hammersmith and City and Metropolitan lines, and what will soon be the Elizabeth line when it opens later on in 2022, which is expected to be around May or June time. Right, conclusions. Which is better with to travel to Gatwick Airport? From my point of view, it is far better to travel with Thameslink to Gatwick Airport from central London as opposed to the Gatwick Express. This is because, for the price you pay with your ticket, you have far more coverage compared to the Gatwick Express, which only covers between the two stations. Not to mention that with Thameslink serving St Pancras International, Farringdon, City Thameslink, Blackfriars and London Bridge, there's far more connectivity, as well as not just with national passengers but also with international passengers, which to me is a huge plus. Furthermore, I honestly feel that with the Gatwick Express the stock is not suitable for the routes which it operates, considering it's meant to be an intercity service. But that's just my point of view. Anyways, now welcome to St Pancras International.
London St Pancras International. Change here for other national rail services, including Eurostar services to mainland Europe. Also change here for the Circle, Hammersmith and City, Metropolitan, Northern, Piccadilly and Victoria lines. Exit here for London King's Cross and the British Library.
Well, that's journey's end for me on this video, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for coming with me today. If you did enjoy the video, please give the video a like, as well as share it, as that really does help the channel to grow. If you're new to the channel, why not consider subscribing? I have new videos coming out every Friday at 5 PM. Also, if there are any trains or specific operators you would like me to cover, please let me know in the comments, as I am open to suggestions. Well, take care guys, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!